Carla, we are all set and ready to begin.
Okay, good morning and good afternoon, wherever you might be, and welcome to the Federal Government Distance Learning Association's webinar series. I'm Carla Lane, FGDLA's Vice President for the Higher Education Sector and the moderator for today's webinar. FGDLA is a nonprofit professional association formed to promote the development and the application of distance learning in the federal government. We actively foster collaboration and understanding among those involved in leveraging technology and instructional media in support of the education and training needs of the federal government. FGDLA is a national chapter of the United States Distance Learning Association. Our membership is derived primarily from individuals employed by the agencies within the federal government. We invite you to join with us in this exciting field. Our web address is fgdla.us. For upcoming events, our speakers for October 27th, just announced today, are Will Paratino and Paul Jezekowicz of OPM. Dr. Say Schatz of ADL, Advanced Distributed Learning, will join us on November 17th, and Dr. Vincent Apondo of the Social Security Administration will be with us on December 15th. And we are so proud that Zoom is a sponsor of FGDLA and has been instrumental in helping us present the webinars. We'd like to thank Zoom and Russ Colbert for sponsoring today's seminar. They are the best partners we could have, and they are one of our new and very valued sponsors. Thank you, Russ.
Carla, you are so welcome, and thanks to Pat for being with us today. You know, Carla, last month I said we had an exciting speaker, but oh my goodness, wait till we unleash Pat today. He is amazing. So he's trying to be modest right now, but he will be exciting and have so much information for us. Thank you, Carla.
You're welcome. So today's topic is transforming education with Zoom. We have Zoom's global education expert, Pat LaMorte, who has extensive experience in helping trainers, higher education facilitators, and K-12 teachers in their transition to virtual and hybrid learning. He is passionate about improving equitable access to education using technology to engage, inspire, and elevate learner achievement. Pat, welcome, and thank you for being with us today. The floor is yours.
Oh, Carla, thank you for the kind words. You make it sound too good. I have to live up to it now.
Okay.
Everybody in the audience, thank you for taking this time out of your day and to amuse me and listening to me for a couple of minutes here. I am Pat LaMorte, and thank you, Russ and Carla. I spent 27 years in education as a high school teacher, as a high school principal, and a private high school president, as well as my 8th year as an adjunct professor, currently serving at Daytona State College here in Florida. Yes, I'm in Florida. It's about 92 today and sunny, so we'll wait for the weather to break, but we'll enjoy it now anyway. So welcome today. I want to give you a couple kind of findings that we're seeing in Zoom as we talk to hundreds and hundreds of schools around the world, really, and what's on the top of their mind, and maybe some of this will resonate with you. So I'm going to invite you to use the Q&A to ask any questions you might have. I know Russ and Carla will be monitoring it. And I'm going to invite you today to put into Q&A your name and where you're from, and maybe one thing that's still curious to you as we enter this fall as regards to training in general, schools if you're with the school, or just a challenge you're having with communication and training in whatever sector you're serving. Put that in the chat too. Be glad to see that. I think today I'll start off by showing you a 1-minute video, going over some findings, then jumping into some of the new features that we have in Zoom that educators are employing every single day. So Russ, if I can have full access here.
You have it, Pat. You have the host controls.
All right, I'm going to share a screen. And actually, let me start with the training person in mind here and share my screen, but share it again and show you that when you share your screen, you have many options here. And one I'm going to employ today is I'm going to employ the option of share sound, but I'm going to share stereo sound. So I'm sharing a video. So I can choose stereo here and optimize for video clips so that you see the highest frame rate possible, no matter what device you're looking at it on. So I'm going to now click share, and let's watch this 1-minute video together.
This is a classroom, and so is this. It's where learning takes place, where teachers bring the world a little closer. And sometimes, even more magic happens. Today's classrooms might look a little different than before. Whether they're physical, virtual, or hybrid, students have more places to discover and grow together. Zoom makes teaching and learning flexible for the future of education. Connecting schools and campuses for a safe return to in-person and hybrid classes, staff meetings, professional development, office hours, and student services. And enabling your faculty and staff to stay in touch with everyone in your educational community. Because learning should happen everywhere.
All right. Let me stop sharing for a second. All right. So thank you for that. That's our new video. It's available on YouTube if you want to see it again or share it with some colleagues. So over the last, 20 months or so, the world has shifted to a platform like Zoom. And we saw tremendous growth, which I'll show you in a second. And half of it was an equalizer. Everybody had to do it at once. So it became more of a question of, is it possible? And because of that, education has never been so accessible in all time, right? So in essence, what happened afterwards is that the model of education is being challenged and in some cases broken. So now schools around the country and around the world are wondering, what is next? What school do I want to design moving forward with some of the federal monies available? We're not going to spend it right away because we don't want to lead our school to a cliff we can't afford once the money is gone. But also, it's our chance to say, what do we want to build and how do we get there? So at Zoom, we're doing our part in that transition and that education of that every single day. And I think three things that are coming to mind on the K-12 sector I'd like to share with you, and this is from talking to dozens and dozens of schools, is number one, education has never seemed so accessible ever. So now questions that I'm hearing are, maybe my student doesn't need to be in that building for 7 hours a day. Can we start building a personal learning track within the school district? Can we start moving to other schools for different programs? And we don't have the answers to these questions yet because it's a new challenge, right? But they're definitely being talked about in a lot of the meetings that we're on. And the other question is, how do I keep the students enrolled in my district now? Right? We're seeing this being asked more and more. And also when the pandemic hit full blown and we had to jump online, some of the kids came to the front in that modality that never did before. So how do we now meet those students where we're at? And then what challenges are the higher education institutions facing right now? I'm talking to provosts and deans and presidents all the time. And a lot of times I offer out the question to them, if I offer out future competitiveness, what comes to mind? And the answer I'm getting is various, from VR to workplace readiness to, just how to communicate in a hybrid world, high flex world. And so with that being said, I asked them, what challenges are you facing overall? And this is every sort of level of institution. And the one thing is that there's a perceived learning gap that may be occurring based on being remote for a year. And what do we need to do to make sure those students have still a fair and equitable shot of getting into the college? And then communicating that back down to the high school level of preparedness. The other thing we're seeing is private institutions, public for-profit training centers and corporate training centers beefing up to offer training sessions, which is beginning to put a little bit of a threat on the four-year degree as we know it. Right? I got off a call today where a school was spinning out certification programs out of their four-year degree to capture that revenue for the students that want to go right to work. And if they return back to the school, it counts as a certain portion of their credits for the full degree. And so what we're seeing is people becoming very creative and starting to realize that maybe things are shifting. So let me show you a couple of stats here by sharing my screen that maybe you've seen before, maybe it's new, and please enjoy these. Over the past several months, as you can imagine, Zoom has seen an increase in usage. And here's some stats for you. Total meetings minutes per month went from 7 billion to 240 billion meeting minutes per month used in the education sector alone on Zoom. Total meetings per month went from 45 million to 600 million meetings per month over Zoom. And lastly, total meeting attendees attending an education license meeting went from 200 million to 7 billion.
Well, Pat, Pat, that's incredibly impressive. And I serve also the enterprise market segment. So no wonder I haven't been able to sleep in the last 8 months.
Really, it's like, and that's a great point, right, Russ? Because I read articles all the time, people saying, well, where's that boundary of I'm at work and I'm not at work, right? Because you're right in your office. So even here at my house, I set up an office in the garage so I can literally close the door and leave work to go home to my children and my wife. From here, let me share with you what the typical use case looks like in an education environment. We're using Zoom now for everything. Think beyond the classrooms, please. Guest lectures, content sharing and collaboration, recording those lessons and sharing classroom sessions, video breakout rooms and polling, synchronous online courses, hybrid online courses, student-to-student collaboration, office hours. I'll jump around. You can see these: staff training, administrative meetings. No longer are you driving from meeting to meeting. You save your mile reimbursement. You're saving 30, 40 minutes on the road between meetings. I mean, that delta alone is a game changer in most schools. Professional work groups, collaboration with other institutions, staff meetings, HR interviews. You want to search a global talent base now, use Zoom for the interviews. And we're seeing this pushed to the limit every day, and it's really surprising us too. I mean, over the last year and a half, we attended birthday parties on Zoom. We attended, prayer services. We attended yoga class, guitar class, all on Zoom.
Weddings.
And it created a sense of human semblance. That missing of touch allowed us to still be on Zoom to complete those. Russ, you had something there?
I just wanted to say weddings.
Weddings, yes, absolutely. Happy hours, reunions, class reunions. We set up graduations for colleges and schools. And I think the key there is to reimagine what it could be like today. If you try to recreate, something's not going to transfer over, and it's going to be perceived as a hit. Where if you stopped and reimagined, saying, yes, this is a weird year, or maybe this is what it's going to be, what could we do to make it equally as special in this time? Then it tend to be more successful overall. Board meetings, everything. So back over here, Zoom offers a comprehensive unified communications platform that enables secure, flexible, and reliable ways of teaching and learning, work and research across the higher ed ecosystem. And I say that and I read that to you because it's not just meetings. We're beyond meetings. Now it's Zoom rooms. Your whole room is an active participant where you can actually wirelessly share to the screen, have scheduling software. You can view digital signage across the campus, all on Zoom, and now even use Zoom phone so that when you have to go home or remote to work, or if you're choosing as an organization to stay home or give the option, your entire phone network is with you. No longer do you have to go back to the office to plug into a wall. You have your calling queues, you have your answering services, everything with you, with some really neat features that we'll go over. Use cases in education and features. Well, we have a bunch of them. Screen sharing, co-annotation, polling, and we're gonna go through some of these live so you can see them. Live and cloud recording, transcription options, and it's only getting better. Local and cloud recording, pre-assigned video breakout rooms, pre-assigned LMS integrations through LTI Pro into Canvas, Schoology, D2L, Moodle. It becomes one cohesive platform so teachers and professors don't need to leave that environment to teach. A whole slew of apps in our app marketplace. And we are fully compliable with SSO integration for the classroom, for colleges as well, both SAML, ADSF, we do ClassLink, all of the different SSOs with external authentication. One of the biggest questions I get asked or brainstorms I get involved with in colleges is, in this hybrid world where some students may never come to the campus, how do we live on our campus identity, our brand? When you come to school, you put a sweatshirt on, you have a logo on, you see the buildings, you feel the legacy. If I never come to campus, how do I protect that? And that is showing the student body hints of that as they go along. So one way we can do that with Zoom is to have that branded vanity URL and the branded landing page. So you can So you can cycle that as they come to the meeting. It looks and feels like your school. Virtual waiting rooms. Chromebook support is in full swing now. Our new PWA came out for the Chromebook. It's got complete parity, with the exception of one minor difference in the backgrounds, which you can blur but not replace the background yet due to the computing software power of the chip. Using slides as a virtual background, I'll show you that. That's really cool. And in high fidelity music mode. We had a couple of colleges come to us and say, hey, we love Zoom, but we can't do our individual lessons on Zoom. And now you can. So we developed the actual component where you can actually drop Zoom's audio gate and you can let the authentic sound through a music board. So now it won't try to level the voices for a conversation. And you can have authentic one-on-one voice lessons, drama productions, theater productions. And by the way, with that, you can stream them to your Facebook, YouTube account at the same time, opening them up to the broader community or alumni base as a whole. And then lastly, we enhance reactions for participants' engagement with nonverbal cues. Russ, any questions from the chat while I move forward?
We're trying to answer them, Pat, as you were speaking, and I think we've got them all answered for now. And just
Great.
Looking at those features, amazing. Oh my goodness, is there anything I cannot do?
Well, we're getting there. We're gonna solve that as a no soon when I talk about the features that we just announced at Zoomtopia, which I hope a lot of you have seen. If not, I know they can put the link to the recordings in the chat. SSO for the classroom. We allow external authentication features for students. So if you do serve students under 18, they don't need a Zoom client to log in. We can simply use their authentication credentials from the school to get them access to your meeting links without any control. So if you have like camps that you serve down to your feeder high schools and so forth, you're not worried about giving them access to a license where they can then share and start meetings. We also can allow students to authenticate without having a Zoom license. We can lock down a domain so only certain domains can join a meeting. So a lot of schools and universities that are, multi-country or multi-city will have a domain lock on some level of licenses, and then it more opened for upper admin and so forth to host other meetings. So really it depends on the school's mix and flavor and culture. The school has full control over what this looks like for their school. Breakout rooms, very popular. You can do up to 50 breakout rooms, up to 200 participants. So you have that group kind of feel to a virtual environment. So you can send them in pre-assignment before the meeting. So if you have groups already assigned, you have them in a CSV file. You can upload them to the meeting ID before the meeting starts. You can ad hoc just select them, or you can have the participants self-select. And pretty soon we'll have a lot of cool advancements coming to that as well. And now, as of last month, you also can share a file to the breakout rooms. So I can share an updated agenda or a rubric or so forth right to the breakout rooms themselves. As a host or a co-host, you can go in and out of each breakout rooms and chat with the breakout rooms.
That's amazing.
It's very fun.
Pat, it is,
Yeah.
It is, but that's a lot of people to be chatting with, Pat. And Pat, that's not all though. In a couple of my enterprise accounts, I have breakout rooms enabled for up to 100 breakout rooms. So for those large enterprise customers that need a large event, it's an OP flag that I or service can activate, which increases the number from 50 to 100.
That's correct. Absolutely. And that's just a simple request through help desk from the client to open that up. And it's a simple switch on our side.
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks for adding that. So polling, let's talk about polling for a second. Really, if I go back to both the high school and college days of teaching here, increasing student engagement, creating icebreakers, quizzes, test knowledge, your poll can be a formative assessment. Because as you see on the screen, you see a sample poll on the right, and you see kind of what it looks like in the middle. And that gives me percentages, but on the back end, when the meeting's over, I can see who answered which question. So it can be a quick formative on the fly assessment. And just last week at Zoomtopia, we announced advanced polling, which launches in October, which is up to 8 question types, including true and false, multiple choice, short answer, drag and drop, matching. And again, all these polls can be created beforehand. So if a professor's sitting down and planning out the whole term, they can create these polls and quizzes on the fly, load them into Zoom, And then when they go to launch the poll during class, they just simply get a pull-up menu. They can pick the poll that they want. So really cool tool. And the one thing I did forget to mention, I do apologize, is that with the new polling, you can add an image to each poll question as well. So if you wanted to do a art class or a geography class, you can add an image they have to define as well, which is brand new to polling.
Can you use the polling as a way of testing, since you said that you can figure out who answered what?
Yeah, it'll be more of a formative test point, not summative, because it's quick 10 so questions each. There is, in the new version coming out, a way to randomize the questions. So if a student, like if you want, you can randomize the questions for each student or every group of students without creating multiple versions of that quiz.
Interesting.
Is that called focus mode?
Nope, that's coming up soon. That's an amazing feature, by the way. And I'll show you that in a couple minutes. So
we're gonna run you all over the place, Pat. I promise.
No, please do, please do. Virtual backgrounds. So we probably use these and love them. Colleges love them to protect a brand identity with the backgrounds. Backgrounds also, for me as a K-12 administrator, really help with socioeconomic disparities of housing, where the students do not want to see other people to see where they live, right? So never before were we invited into each other's houses. And now you do have that kind of glimpse. So the background does set that. Some of our bigger schools, both at the higher ed and the K-12 level, will actually give out branded backgrounds based on colors so they can identify each grade level very quickly, especially in the K-12s, like K-5s. If they have 5th grade class, 4th grade class on a team meeting, they know that all the green backgrounds are 4th grade and all the red backgrounds are 5th grade. So as an admin on your account, you can set the allowed backgrounds for your educational enterprise account, or account wise. So that's really fun as well. And if you've been following along on our updates and you have our new Zoom apps component, you actually have now a virtual background gallery you can load in. So a lot of people have fun with that as well. I know when I go on customer calls, I'll put up the main building of Harvard or Yale on the background as I meet with them. Kind of gives that instant connection and talking point. So virtual backgrounds are available right now at every level. Great for branding the school, great to use as an image or video file. I had a science teacher in a high school actually use a video background to do the lab. So it cycled behind her as she explained it to the students. So the lab itself was the background. So really cool use cases.
They're pretty easy to make too. I just use PowerPoint slides, and the ones that are behind Russ and I made it. Took me at least 3 minutes.
Yeah, we actually use Google Slides at Zoom, and I actually have a deck, if you will, of all the different Zoom slides so that I can share it with our internal employees, and they can just change their name and position and export it as a JPEG or a PNG. Background blur. If you don't want that slide, you could actually just blur your background. And so this is the one difference between the Chrome PWA and our regular version for Zoom client for desktop and app, is that in the Chrome, you'll be drawing a shape around the person and blocking it that way, where in the full version here with the computing power, it will blur your background pretty significantly and pretty nice. It's about a 75% Gaussian blur, and you really can't make out what's behind the person, which is nice. Just reduces background structures. I can imagine how many meetings we've been on where a relative walked behind them or a dog jumped on their lap, and stuff like that. So it just helps kind of minimize distraction behind the folks.
I just activated mine, Pat.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
So slides is a virtual background. This is a game changer. Universities love this. Right now it's PowerPoint. In the future, it'll be PowerPoint, Google Slides, and also Keynote. You can build your decks for your lessons or lectures or town hall meetings, and you can have that as your background on Zoom, and you become smaller in the corner like a weather person. And with this, you can actually move yourself from corner to corner based on the presentation layout behind you. So imagine having a 10 or 12 slide deck, and now you can literally point to what you're looking at, and you're in front of the slideshow without losing eye contact to your audience. So that's a great one. It came out a few months ago in beta. It's right there in the shared screen, which I'll point out later when I jump into demo mode in about 4 or 5 minutes. What are we doing on time, Russ?
I think we're doing great, Pat. We do
Great.
have some questions. A lot of questions are coming in. Would you like to take just one or two questions right now?
Yeah, so I see one from Jolly here for Likert scale. We have something very similar coming out in the advanced polling where you can put points on a line and they can slide it along, but it's not specifically where you can pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any other ones that you see?
I think the one from Thomas Elliott is incredible. What is the upper limit of number of participants that can be in a training session? I know that's going to be, as many people as you ask this question to, you're going to get that many answers. But what do you think, Pat?
Well, there's two ways, right? So if you're using a Zoom meeting license, typically if it's an enterprise or like educational account, you have a 300 limit stock out of the gate, but you can buy additional meeting capacities of 500 or 1,000. If you jump over to webinar side or the Zoom event side, you can increment yourself up to 50,000.
Yeah, 50,000.
50,000 is the limit right now on Zoom. That comes out of the gate. Now, the pricing is accordingly, but some of our larger enterprise clients will use that license to run full company meetings and so forth. And it's in between, right? So you have 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. So you can buy them like monthly or by the month.
Wow.
Yeah. And webinar, by the way, which we're on now, is a little more manageable for that larger number because really we can't see you. You can see us. So I'm not staring at a sea of 50,000 blocks. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. What about
Awesome.
uploading a video in the polls?
Upload a video in the polls, not yet. But my friend, whoever asked that is a great idea. And I am the direct link to the product manager for education. So I will serve that up as a suggestion.
That came from Christopher Moore.
And Christopher, I'll tell you this much, my friend, almost every additional feature from the ed side came from people, suggestions from customers. And I'll go through a few of those in a moment. So we are very attentive and we're very responsive to make this the most comprehensive tool we can to serve educators and anybody in that matter, because every industry in the world, by the way, trains people. So I use educators loosely. This one here, again, this is a great example, Chris, is that this came from a teacher recommendation where we can customize the gallery view and reorder people. So I can drag people into a certain semblance of a seating chart. And as long as the video meeting is on, it'll stay that way until I unlock it. Now, very soon, in about a month, you'll be able to create a meeting ID that goes across several days, and you can save that location for the entire length of that meeting across several days. So as long as they log in with that same credential, it'll match it and put them in the order you placed them in. The only way they'll go out of order is if a student, whether it be higher ed or K-12 or attendee, if that matter, raises their hand. That's another new feature. Now, if you're teaching hybrid synchronously and you're not always looking at both areas at one time, when I raise my hand, I will go to the top of the attendee list and to the top left of the screen. So if you see that in order, let's say the first 3 people are raising hands, you know that the first person is up the longest, the second person, the second longest. And as I release those hands, they'll go back to the initial spot they were put in. That's another handy little tool to use in the classroom, whatever style classroom you have.
So is that what we're seeing on the screen now?
Well, yeah, that's what the moving is showing, that you can move people around. So I can, move Farah next to Jason. I can move Charles to the corner, and then it'll stay that way until I unlock it. So if Charles jumps out of the meeting because he loses Wi-Fi, when he jumps back in, he'll go back to that spot.
Okay, it's also interesting that you've got one man there with the sort of lavender background. He's got a video as his virtual background.
Yeah. So that's a very funny story for your vest. So I have an account executive on the education side for K-12 that actually put his iPhone on his desk and left the room and recorded it for like an hour. And so while he was recording, he walked in, waved, and walked out. So now when you're in a meeting with him, he's dressed in the same clothing. He walks in, waves at himself, and leaves. And people were like, wait, is that a twin? Is that you? And he'll do things like that. He did another one where he came in and gave himself a cup of coffee and then left. So people are having fun with these backgrounds.
So I have a suspicion that this spotlighting or even multi-pinning would be really good for people that have the application of sign language. Is that true?
Oh my God, amazing. So let me go there now. So multi-spotlight and multi-pin, I'll go back and forth here, is essentially similar in functionality with the exception of if I spotlight you, it affects every viewer. If I pin you, it's for your screen only. So I'll give you a real life story. My daughter is a senior in high school here in Florida. She is an ASL level 4. She's going to UNF next year, University of Florida, for PR and American Sign Language. She pins the interpreter teacher on her page at all times because she wants to see that translator no matter what happens on the screen. So if we're having a panel discussion or a roundtable, I will spotlight all the folks involved and they will stay front and center in front of everybody. But if I want to see the teacher more and not the presentation, I can pin the teacher to be front and center on my screen. So again, they function very similarly, except for this one only affects your screen, where this one affects everybody's screen. And you can actually pin or spotlight up to 9 people. So that's a very, very handy tool in education in any training scenario, right? Really, if you're a corporation and you have maybe it's a government like briefing on something, you can pin everybody that's going to speak, and everybody else stays and shuffles around it, but those people stay center, so you always know who's talking. High fidelity music mode, and Russ, keep me honest here. I believe it was Yale we worked with in the request.
It was Manhattan School of Music.
Yeah, they requested and said, hey, we love Zoom, we really do, but we need to be able to work with all of our constituents and all of our majors. So we dug, face down into the dirt with them, and we built high fidelity music mode. So it disables echo cancellation, post-processing, eliminates audio compression so that it comes through on a natural output of an audio board, and it raises the audio codec quality to go on a larger decibel range for instrumental music. So I can actually have a vocal lesson and exactly what that person's producing is coming through to me so I had a friend of ours who is a musician, a freelancer, and he works at Disney, downtown Disney. And we took his band of 4 people all on Zoom calls. We actually brought him into his computer with high fidelity music mode on. He brought the output of his computer into a music soundboard and then mixed his own voice into it. It sounded like one band was playing. People are doing this too in production houses like auditoriums, so they can share musicals or concerts out to the audience. And not
only that, Pat, but also for the medical industry. Occasionally we have people from Veterans Affairs on this call with us. And so a doctor doesn't need any extra anything when listening through a stethoscope. So listening to a heart via virtual distance to a patient's heart is incredible using this technology.
Absolutely. And there's many companies out there that you'll even know better than I will that offer hardware appliances that hook into these systems that will directly transmit those sounds and sense to the doctor on the other side.
Definitely, Pat.
And I think that these are industries that we're talking about that are forever changed. They're not going back the way they were. So I think instead of saying back to normal, this is normal. We have to figure out what it is, right? And that's kind of the uncertainty, is that we're living for a normal that we expect something to happen to. And instead of like reading about it, we're living science, which is kind of interesting but weird, right? So persistent nonverbal feedback. This is great if you want to say your students, hey, I'm going to mute everybody, I'm going to lock it. If you need to get my attention, you can use the feedback. You can raise your hand. Do you understand? Yes or no? You can click it. In the participants panel, you'll see those icons pop up as the students use them. And you'll see if there's multiple students, it'll give you a generic summary at the bottom here. So those are available right down here in the toolbar. And you can use any of these emojis, any of these nonverbal cues, which is go faster, go slower, yes or no, or raise hand. So very easy to use. They enhance that all the time. Live transcription, a game changer across the board. And
I love this. It's my favorite.
Oh my God, it's a game changer. I turn it on every second I get a chance to, because also at the end, if you have your settings set right, you get a full transcription that matches the video at the end too. So as you're reviewing the video that you may have missed, it's reading along next to you, and then you can cross-search that transcription for any keyword you might want. But not only are you getting the content, you're getting the context as well. So really great. And as announced in Zoomtopia, very soon we'll be doing live transcription in several languages. And I think of the target at the end of this phase out is up to 30 languages, but in the several quarters from now. But very soon you'll see some live translations in several languages. Right now, we have translation services where we provide the channel for you and you provide the interpreter. So what'll happen there is if you have someone that wants to give your presentation in Spanish or French or German, you would enable that on OP through your account manager. You would actually set that track up and have whoever you assign to speak, and then the audience that chooses that track will hear the main speaker at a lower volume and the translation at the higher volume. So we can serve access to every single population at one time, which is phenomenal.
So is that audio description? Is that what you're?
No, this is someone actually speaking live and translating. So when I did my keynote last week, I had 4 options for live transcription.
Okay.
Live translation. Sorry, I use those words interchangeably. I shouldn't.
I use it every day with the United Nations, every single day.
Oh yeah, and I think the United Nations helped us build that technology for that platform as well. Direct video share. This was a much wanted feature in your advanced sharing options, which I'll show you in a second. If you have a YouTube video or a Vimeo video, you can actually put the link right into that share option, and it'll fully buffer the video to the proper codec before it shares. So it gives it a seamless experience no matter what device your people are watching on, because you don't know that. You don't have to have an iPhone, an iPad, a computer. It might be an AMD 286 machine. You don't know, right? Authentication exception. So participants added here will receive a unique meeting invite and bypass authentication. So if you have a domain or email list of people that are VIPs, you can put them on this list and they will get into the meeting without any kind of authentication. So perhaps you're inviting the Board of Education to join a meeting. You can put them on this list and they don't have to go through all the passwords and everything. But this is unique to the meeting on a secure list, so it doesn't get leaked out past the meeting itself. Anything out here, Russ?
Q&A.
Yeah, Q&A. Well, since this is the federal government, a lot of people, Pat, the question that I was just about to answer that I think is so important is, are all or some of these features going to port over to Zoom for Government?
Go ahead, Russ.
Go ahead. The answer to that is some. I would say that Zoom for Government is lagging because of increased security requirements that we must comply with. So as fast as possible, I didn't see the name right in front of me that asked that question, but as fast as we can and get it approved with the proper security mechanisms in place, the answer is yes.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to end up this last bit with showing you some of the features live, right? So down in this toolbar here, you'll see there's an annotate tool, by the way, in Zoom. So you can draw on the screen wherever you are. Really good when you're showing someone where something is. And I can actually go ahead and erase that annotation here and get it out. So down here, you have your microphone. You can tell it's working by that green jumping box icon. That tells me that you're hearing me. Sometimes if you have Bluetooth, like headphones or something, I've been on meetings where they can't hear me and I realize it's me because my headphones picked up in the drawer. So I would just go down to this little up arrow and choose the input I want. So anything that you have connected to your system or you have connected to your system in the past will show up here. So in my office, I have a lot of Zoom appliances. So of course, all of those have their own component of microphones. So you see a massive list here. You may only have one. You may have your computer's microphone or speaker. All right, so that's that. Next to that is the video itself. Little pro tip here on the microphone. If I click it and mute myself, if I want to engage in the conversation, I can simply press my space bar to unmute and talk like a walkie-talkie. So I do that. As I push my space bar, you'll hear me. If I let go, so if you have a larger amount of folks on the meeting, you can say, you know what, mute yourselves. If you need to talk, just press the space bar. You can talk. Video too. So video itself, you can change your input in cameras. I have a lot of cameras here. I even have cameras like described that as a whiteboard, a physical whiteboard on the wall. So if I go to that one, I can actually put the camera on and write on my whiteboard. If I'm a math teacher, science teacher, if I'm in a training room. I also have what they call a Jabra Panicast, which is 180 degrees. So no one is left out of the room. And then also a couple other fun devices here. But I want to show you another pro tip here. And people love me for this. I can talk about all the security in the world, SSO. I can talk about moving the gallery around. No, it doesn't hold a candle to this. For those 8 o'clock meetings, I have touch up my appearance. It takes out the wrinkles and the shadows. So I can put this filter on to a certain threshold to kind of clean up my skin. And usually at this point, people cheer in the audience. I also can adjust for low light. So if you happen to be at a home office and you have no choice but be by a window, it could silhouette your image. So you can click adjust for low light here as well. But while I'm in this setting menu, by the way, which I got to right down here on this caret, I will jump down to the backgrounds and filters to show you how you can choose these backgrounds. If I hit blur, like Russ said before, my background is not blurred out. That simple. If I go back to none, it clears itself up. I'm gonna get off the desk so my camera keeps shaking. I apologize there in the chat. But you can see here too, a lot of the younger students, you have to engage them more often. So some of our teachers will read a story on Zoom and they'll actually employ these filters. So look, Mom, I'm on TV. I always want to be on TV, but now I am, right? So literally on TV, but I can, in any of these Snapchat filters and so forth, I can engage. Students love this when they're reading a story about pirates and the pirate patches on the teacher's eye. Just little things to kind of, help that engagement piece, right? So I'm gonna jump off of this. Go ahead.
The halo. Put the halo on yourself.
Oh, geez. Okay, hold on.
That's my favorite one.
I might be in trouble for doing that, but let's see. Where is it here? We're gonna go to backgrounds, filters, and where did you see halo here? Do you see it?
No, I don't see it.
That's it.
There it is. Okay.
There it is.
Perfect.
So
Yeah, I mean,
no screenshots, please.
Screenshot.
All right. So from before,
It's
from our
recorded.
PowerPoint, if I want to change this up, I can take Carla here and move her to the top left. And I can take Russ and move him down. And now this is locked. Let me move this floating bar here. This is locked until I release that video order. Right. So now they're in that order. Russ, if you would put your hand up, please. No, on the screen.
Yes, of course.
So he goes to the top left. Right. And now he's not in the participant panel. He's in the panelists. If I go here and show you this, he's now above Carla. When he lets go of the hand, he'll switch the order back to where I put him. All right. See how he moved back down? He moved back down in this list. Also down here in the bottom, use raise hand functionality for yourself. I can turn on live transcription right here. Right now in the audience, you'll see a pop-up that says the host has enabled live transcription. Feel free. Now you'll see it. Let's showcase it as it is. All right, from here, I have something here where I can go live on Facebook, Workplace by Facebook, YouTube, or your own custom service. So we provide a solution that not only can you present to a virtual audience as well. Perhaps the college is an alumni class, or it's a fundraiser, and you only can support 1,000 people in the room, or you can live stream it as well, or graduation. Now, instead of limiting it to 7 or 8 tickets, you now have the ability to live stream it. It's to one source at this time. So what a lot of people do is they'll actually live stream to YouTube and then put that link on Facebook. And you'll see about a 3-second delay, but the person watching doesn't know it's not live anyway. So they won't be noticing that it's delayed unless they have both open. So focus mode, I have to talk about it because we're in a webinar right now. But focus mode is phenomenal. It came out about 2 weeks ago. It was highly asked for. They didn't know what it would look like. But when you're in a meeting and you're at the very latest version of Zoom, down here, sorry, in the More button, above all this live streaming stuff, you'll see focus mode. And when I click that, all of the attendees, or in this case, students, will no longer see each other. They will only see the teacher. Great for tests and quizzes. Great for students who are uncomfortable showing their background. So focus mode again, the teacher can see everybody, but everybody can't see each other.
Proctoring an exam.
Proctoring exam, one of the top use cases and why we developed it.
Mhm.
Exam, you know, not jeopardizing the integrity of the exam. I couldn't think of the word, sorry. This is my 11th Zoom meeting today. So yes, so proctoring, also that, again, the students being uncomfortable. The teacher can see them, but they can't see each other. And as simple as turning it on, you can turn it off. So you can go back to that menu, click on focus mode, and it shuts it off. So that is really, really, really a great way to do this. Let me show you 2 more things here, and then one more futuristic idea. If I go to my shared screen here, it's green, you never can miss it. I have options. My options here, I have 2 desktop monitors, my MacBook and my secondary monitor. I also have a whiteboard I can share. And the whiteboard has the same tool set as annotation. I also can share from an iOS device, either wirelessly or a cable, or any specific window that's open. So if I want to share just my Word document, you won't see anything else. Whereas if I share my desktop, you will see everything else. And that's how I'm sharing now, because I wanted to show you all the tools around it, right? Second screen is where the fun happens. This is where you're going to find slides as a virtual background. This is where you can share a portion of your screen. So if you want to have a rubric open and only share that real estate of the screen so you can still work on the rest of it, you can draw a box around that particular window, and that's all they will see. You can share audio only if you're playing an audio transcript of recreation of a war or something, and you don't want to give up your whole screen, you can share audio only. This is that video link. If I click this, it's going to ask me for the link of the video. And then also share from a second camera. This could be a document camera. It could be another camera on your desk. It could be an iPhone or iPad uses a document camera. And then lastly, to help you expedite the workflow of your teaching or training, you can share a file from any of your favorite file storage platforms. So I can come to the meeting, running late, I come to the meeting, I want to share the updated agenda with you, I pop it through, you get it live, and we go on with the meeting. Alternately, to this location, you can share the same thing in the chat menu, right? So if I click on chat and I come over here, on this little triple dot, I can actually, you don't have it turned on, I can share a file right here. And I can share a file from my computer or any of my favorite storage locations. Also, once you get a conversation going, so once we asked a question and then we had a response, anybody on the meeting can go here and save the chat transcript. So once you have a conversation, a 2-way conversation, that lights up and you can save the transcript before the meeting ends. So one caution, and you probably have done this before, I've done this before, very innocently, you have a chat ability to chat with everyone or someone specifically. So if I'm chatting with Carla, asking what the heck is wrong with Russ today, he looks horrible, and I'm sharing my screen.
What did she say?
Well, I'm sharing my screen, Russ can see me. So put this on the second monitor. I've seen that happen before, and I've done it not with those severity of claims, but I've done it before where someone's like, you're still sharing your screen. I'm like, oh, okay.
Pat, can you take one question?
I can.
Helen is with us from the GSA, and she wants to know the accuracy of live transcription. I've been watching it, and it looks good to my eye. But from your standpoint, what is the percentage of accuracy of live transcription?
As of now, the last I heard from engineering, as they measured the medium of all the transcriptions, it's hitting about 87 to 90%. Or better, right? But that's the average. And that's out of the gate. That's out of the gate. Obviously, it'll keep improving itself as it goes on, and we'll keep improving it as it goes on.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, by the way. Thank you for asking that. Recording. So right now we are recording. If we weren't recording, and you click this, you can hit record, and based on your licenses, you can record to either the cloud or to your local computer. One last thing I want to share, which I cannot show you yet because it's not out yet, but we did announce it, is advanced whiteboarding. This is amazing. It's coming out. It's GA'd for November tentatively. And it is, if you have your chat open, and by the way, I don't know if you know this, but Zoom has two chats. You have your in-meeting chat and you have your persistent chat. So I'm going to share my own chat so it's not sharing anybody else's. So this is the desktop app with the persistent chat in here, right? So in the persistent chat, if I go to a group that I'm in, so that means in this group, there are several people, 12 people in my organization. Not only can I see who's in here, any whiteboards that we share are stored here. Any files we share are stored here, and any images we share are stored here. So if I'm on a committee, in schools terms, a tech committee or curriculum council, and we're sharing in this thread, anything, any decks, any images, were all shared here. So if I'm catching up in my morning here for this committee, we have a meeting at 2 o'clock, and if I say, what does Tane mean here? I can go here, I can see if Tane is available. He's in a calendar meeting. So instead of waiting, I can chat him. And I can ask him my question right now and not forget about it. When I'm ready, I can hit this button and invite everybody to the meeting. So here's where we really see our unified communication platform at play. So if I go to, let's see, I have a colleague, you might know him, his name is Russ. If I go to Russ here, and I see that Russ is on a call, I can actually text him right now and move on with my life. But if he says, I have no idea what you're talking about, call me, I can come up here and call him with Zoom phone. And this is on my mobile device, my iPad, my computer. And if we're on the phone now talking, he goes, just show me. I can click this button and upgrade that call to a video call in one click. So that unified experience of chat, phone, and video is so simple on any device that you have. If I go over to my Zoom phone client, which by the way looks the same on my phone, I can actually search internally by name. And I can see he's on the phone here. So I have some options. I can call him and so forth. Or I can go back to chat and search him. Here, great feature for any government agency, whether it be a school, whatever. If I'm home working and I'm assigned a government number or a school number, and now I have to call that in the K-12 sector, the irate parent back, I don't want them to know I'm home, so I can actually call them back from the school number. So even though I'm sitting in my dining room, I can mask it back to the central office number. Same thing in any agency. If you give your stakeholders permission to access that number, they can call back from their given extension or their main number. Really cool. In that history, let's say here's a history, someone called me, I can always save that to a contact list. I can block it, delete it, clear history, or send them an SMS text message, all included. So now I have text messaging, and this is available on Wi-Fi and cellular, both the phone, meetings, and messaging. So when I go to voicemail, it automatically transcribes it for me. It'll read it to me, or I can call them back, or I can even save it as a text message. And then, like I said before, we have text messaging. What this means here, lines, is let's say I have an executive assistant and I share my line with them, or let's say Russ is going out of town to an in-person client meeting. Remember those? And he's going to be away. He can share his line with me while he's away. And if he doesn't pick up in like 3 rings, I can pick it up on my side so that we can serve the client with a live answer. If I don't pick up, it goes back to Russ's voicemail.
Thank you for telling me about that one. You can expect some calls coming your way really soon.
Yeah, I also can block that as well, so be careful, right? And lastly, I want to show you Zoom Apps. Zoom Apps is amazing.
Oh boy.
So Zoom Apps really is a game changer in my mind. So we have apps here. Asana, Dropbox, virtual backgrounds, a simple timer, right? And I go here to discover, we have many more. We have over 50 apps already. Maybe some of the programs you like. And what happens here in a meeting is when I launch Zoom apps, if you see, let me move this out of the way. If you see where my participants panel is right here, that's where the app will load. So I'm an Asana user at Zoom on the marketing side. We use Asana for everything. So I can actually come to a meeting, open my Asana app. It loads right here, create an Asana task and type. When I'm done, it's automatically in my Asana board. Right? We have Kahoot, we have, Slack, we have, a timer. You can simply put a timer on and people can see it and say, you have 5 minutes to talk about this, go. I can put a visual timer on. So Zoom apps is integrated into the platform so you don't have to leave the platform to perform other work.
Pat, I have to tell you this. I'm watching live transcription, and when you said Kahoot, it thought you said cooked food.
Hey, look at me. This is practice. This is practice. Sorry, I'm Italian. No, but that's funny. So yeah, so we're not 100% accurate, by the way, whoever asked that before. That's really my spiel, Russ. I appreciate everybody listening. Not that you have a choice, but you had a choice of staying with us, and we appreciate that. Any of us are here to help answer any questions. Love to get back on calls with your particular organizations and run a similar demo.
It's fascinating. I'm every time I'm on a Zoom call, and that 6 billion calls, I think I'm responsible for 3 billion of them. But anyway, there's so much that goes on. The ones that you were showing about doing a meeting. So if you're within a meeting and you're constantly meeting with groups, so you can record the meeting, you can do text, you can do telephone calls, you can do whiteboards, you can do anything. And then that's all saved as membership within that group. And
if you said it that way, yes, right. So I'll show you that. If you have time, Russ, give me a time check.
We have 35 seconds.
Oh, all right. I'll take that. Ready? So very quickly here in 35 seconds, if you have to drop, I understand. I appreciate it. But if I go here and I go to my settings, let me just jump over here to advanced settings. Come on, you can do it. Let's see here. Advanced. Nope. Let's say audio.
I'm just thinking that with a class, I teach online for 2 universities. So it would be great to be able to take classes and save them this way. So if somebody is absent today, they can go back and listen to whatever happened.
All right, so Carla, for the timing, I'm going to show you here. So if you're staying with us, great. You have 3 levels of settings here. You have your personal level, you have your group level, which you can create user groups, or you have your admin level. So they're the same. I'll show you one. So here I have everything I showed you in Zoom, you can turn on or off, right? Then up here in recording, to your point, Carla, I have the option of recording in any detail I want. I have it all turned on, which is record active speaker, record gallery view, record all of them separately. So if I'm doing a post-production, if I'm a school, I can actually choose to take the names off or keep them on if it's a Socratic seminar, but I might, take the gallery view off or whatever. But you have the ability, and by the way, this audio transcript is the important one, because now if I go over to my recordings and I play back, let's say this recording session, when I play it back live here, if I'm sharing it with you, the transcript loads up right next to it. And 3, 2, 1. So this is one of our Zoomtopia takes here for last week. So my transcript is right here. So I can search this. I can say, let's talk about ESSER funds. I know this is a funding one. And anywhere that we mentioned ESSER would pop up and highlight. So let's say, I'm making this up. Let's say I want to talk about, jumped. I don't know why. If I click on that, it brings the video to that point as well. So as a student,
a new one too. We used to pay millions of dollars for that.
Right. And now here I can edit the transcript live, or I can highlight. So if I want to highlight for my students and say, pay attention to these highlights, it also will create a highlight reel here. So I can edit highlights, save as a clip. A lot of post-production work done right here. A lot of being able to do an asynchronous lesson and have the students still enjoy your lesson with your tone, your personality, your voice.
So
Right?
they're editable, like any video, any digital video, you can edit these as well.
To a certain point. Then you also can put it into like a production. But now, if you look here, if I download these, I have all these files. So I have a transcript, I have the gallery view, I have the shared screen, and based on what I clicked on the prior screen will be what's available. So if you go back here, you'll see some say 7 files, some say 5 files. It's because I modified those settings. And by the way, lastly, I promise, if I share this with you, I can actually opt how it shares with you. So I can say, share this recording, put an expiration date on it for 7 days. I don't want you to download it, and I want you to have a passcode on it. So I can put the passcode in. So I can share this with my workers or my team, but I can have, based on the sensitivity of content, I can have a various level of security on this as well.
Interesting. Well,
So,
Pat, we're
anyway.
going to have to call it a day. I'm so
Let's do
sorry
it.
to end it, but we want to thank you for being with us today. I want to book you at least 2 more times next year because
Do it.
that's so much information that we can all use, and you show us so many interesting things that we can do that we didn't know we could do. So thank you very much. Russ, thank you for being with us. That
Thank you,
concludes
Carla.
the webinar. Thank you all for being with us today.
Right. Have
Good
a
night.
great week.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye for now.